Martin Pakula, do you welcome the police inquiry into the CFMEU and the industry?
Well, we've been calling for that since February, Neil. I think it's interesting, though, that Tony Abbott's here today to talk about that rather than talk about his education cuts or his health cuts or his fuel tax hike. Or his
He's going to come to town and say,
he's here to talk about what he wants to talk about, but he won't talk about
what
the
are you
fuel
here for?
rise.
You never turn up to talk about what you don't want
I'm
to
here
talk
to
about,
answer
do
your
you?
questions, Neil.
Okay,
we have been
is
calling.
the CFMEU corrupt?
We have been calling for.
There's a question for you. Is the CFMEU corrupt?
It's not my place to answer that.
Do you believe they have a case to answer?
I have said, and the Labor Party has said since February, that there should be a properly resourced inquiry to look into corruption in the building industry by both unions and employers.
Are you concerned about the propriety of the CFMEU?
I am concerned about any allegation about corruption or criminal conduct by any unions, and I say that, Neil.
Are you concerned
Neil,
giving those allegations about taking money from the CFMEU to finance your campaign?
I say that, Neil, as a person who was a union official for 13 years. No one's more offended than me by any assertion of people misusing members' funds.
Are you comfortable to take CFMEU money for your union campaign, for your opposition campaign in the election?
Neil, I think these allegations should be properly investigated. I think if the government wants to run an inquiry into the building industry, they should look at both unions and employers.
Well, they are.
Yes, and we've been calling for that since February.
Are you comfortable taking CFMEU donations for your campaign?
Well, I don't, because I don't need to. The reality is, Neil...
But your party does.
Well, Neil, and the Liberal Party takes money from big tobacco.
Yeah, that's true.
And
but
the Liberal Party
takes
takes money from big tobacco.
Are you comfortable taking CFMEU funds?
Well, until these allegations are tested and properly brought to the appropriate authority, I think that's a premature question.
Well, they were found in contempt of court.
Well,
and they've been fined heavily. In fact, the largest fine for that offence ever.
And Matthew, employers that you take money from have been found in breach of workplace safety roles, in breach of OC health and safety.
This is a nice spin.
Well, it's the truth, Matthew. I mean, if you run the ruler over the Liberal Party's fundraising and ruled out every company that's ever been in breach of health and safety requirements, that's been involved in industrial death, you'd be handing back a bit as well.
Martin, that's nice spin. Let me just
Before you do, you've got a bit to answer to. It is cynical. I mean, you've got to say, to pop this up in the middle of an election campaign is pretty deliberate politics.
Let's go back 20 or 25 years. John Cain had the courage to go after the BLF in this state. John Cain, when he was a Labor Premier, took on the BLF because he believed the BLF were not behaving in a way that befitted workplace behaviour in Victoria, and indeed were engaging in intimidation. And of course, there was a range of inquiries into the way their conduct had been. Now we have, fast forward to the year 2013, 2014. We're having the similar allegations about the CFMEU. We've now found in court, in the courts, we've found that they're in contempt of court. We're seeing some of this obscene behaviour on building sites around the state, and I think it is about time that we got to an inquiry like this.
Do you agree that employers have questions to answer as well?
Well, I'm sure you could go through every employer in the state. I mean, there's over
$1.5 million
of them.
Is there employer corruption in the building industry?
I have absolutely no idea about
employer. Is the union corruption?
Is the union corrupt? I have seen allegations that the union's behaviour is certainly on the border of that.
Allegations. And you're very certain about union corruption, but you have no idea about employer corruption. I think that says everything.
Well, hang on. I don't accuse anyone of corruption, Martin. What I've just said is that we have evidence in the court, in the court of law, which shows that the CFMEU are acting improperly. I mean, you don't have to be Nostradamus to go up the road and have a look at the behaviour of the CFMEU in front of Myer Emporium, the way they're intimidating other workers coming into that building site. For God's sake, Martin, take a walk up the road. Now, these people have fundraised nearly $10 million to Labor in the last 10 years.
Matthew, you've got your own. You've got your own building inquiry. There's the ABCC. There's a Royal Commission.
Well, you wanted to scrap them,
and now there's this task force, and it's
interesting to me. How many of these would survive an Andrews government?
The only thing Tony Abbott wants to talk about is this, rather than fuel hikes, education cuts, and health cuts.
I tell you what, I'd rather talk about people breaking the law first than a fuel hike, Martin. I think we actually need to uphold the laws of the country.